So today we're joined by Mr. Naveen Karu. He's one of the, can I say, biggest restaurants in KL?
No, no,
No,
no,
okay.
don't. I mean, yeah, fine.
Okay, so just before we start, let's just talk about your background a bit. You have such a long list of
Sure.
restaurants. Like I need my phone to read it out, but I'm sure you can do it by heart. So.
No worries. So no, just a quick background. So I'm the founder, and I call myself a culinary innovator of Ocean Flare Group. And within Ocean Flare Group is a culinary F&B group, and we have restaurant, Italian restaurant, influence restaurant in Tamantun. We have a whiskey private cigar bar in Tamantun. We have the food company, which is our retail store in Tamantun Dr. Smile. I mean, you hear me saying Tamantun quite a lot because I really don't like to drive out too much, so it's quite easy for me. And our corporate office is in Tamantun as well. And then we have a latest food company, food retail store in Bukit Damansara coming, called the Food Company 2. Then we have Manja KL right in the heart of the city. And then our two catering businesses, one is Big Boys Barbecue, which is a barbecue catering arm. And the other one is more corporate tropical gourmet style catering, which is called Sago Catering. And then in Bangsa, we operate a kitchen called Penang Wok. So that's currently what we do at the moment.
So I was really keen to talk to you because like you survived the first MCO. Now we're in the
Yep.
first day of the second one. So talk us through about how badly were you hit, especially during the first one, and then perhaps you can talk about what you've learned and how you've evolved your business.
Prior to this, there was always a push for me to open more restaurants. So people around me, there were a few people who saying, Naveen, go and open more vins. You should have 10 vins, in different areas and stuff. But there was never really because why I'm relating to this, because I'll get to the point. But the reason why I did not want to go and open and have a chain of restaurants with one single brand is because two reasons. I believe the importance of diversity, because at that time the trend was to specialize, to go and just do one thing and duplicate many. But the problem with that happens is there is an issue in terms of can you sustain if something happens. And so during the MCO, luckily I followed my gut, and I had a diversified business. So it's a diversified group of small businesses that eventually comes up to a decent size. So because of the energy and time put into it, but it doesn't make sense in terms of energy because you are diverting your energy in many places. But it paid off during Corona in the sense that when there was a lockdown, there were other businesses that could help balance out the impact that I was in. So, for example, we had the online catering business. Our catering systems were online. We had the food company, so most of the staff from the other restaurants were able to come and work at the food company. The food retail business really helped to sustain. And I think the most important thing, that the reason how we survived the first MCO was the fact that our team and myself, together with the entire management team, we gave 110% every day. And because we were not, our business did not have systemic problems before COVID, that is the reason we're okay. So if we did not understand our target market, we weren't focusing on our food quality, we weren't improvising our systems, and we weren't thinking of growth, and we weren't thinking of online presence. If these things were not in the pipeline, I think COVID would have hit us much worse. So I think it's important to understand what an F&B business needs, look for potential problems that can come before the problem actually arrives at your doorstep. If you're pivoting at the time of a crisis, that I think it's unless you have very deep pockets and you can sustain, I think it's a very challenging environment.
So what you're saying, most of the things you've done now to diversify were steps you've taken even before the whole pandemic started, basically. But
Exactly. So we started.
You've had to establish yourself to a certain extent for you before you could branch out in all these as well, right?
Correct. You got to do your time, I call it. You got to do your time. So it wasn't the easy route. So I spent 10 years doing this, and 10 years was 10 years of struggle, 10 years of hard work, 10 years of sacrificing time, 10 years of, not getting involved in a lot of other things that I wanted to. But moving on, I have these 6 branches of businesses that each can be its own rising star. So that means, it's like having many, it's like having kids, like, you have 5 kids, you know,
Yeah.
you have a couple of ones, it works that way. You gotta place your bets in different places. And I think that is totally, totally vital to do. And businesses now are going to be thinking differently. Businesses now are going to be thinking how to think like that. And I think that's a very, very, very important part of it. But don't get me wrong, pre-COVID, we already had issues in the F&B industry. Pre-COVID, we had a dip on tourism. So the amount of influx of tourists, expatriates in the country was already less. So
This
the
is
amount of
sorry to interrupt. This is before 2020, right? Even before.
I'm talking 2019.
Okay.
Not many people say this, but 2019, restaurant industry already is starting to see a dip. But not in the fast casual segment, more in the upper, more towards the upper casual, semi-fine dine, fine dine. There were groups of people doing well, and you could see like Michelin star restaurants closing down in different places. Singapore, the Robuchon restaurant closed, and there was these core key restaurants where you cannot imagine Michelin star restaurants closing down. 2019. So there were already systemic problems happening. People were not willing to pay a premium. The spending power was reducing. The economy was not picking up. So we were hoping that 2020, with the government initiative for tourism, the Tourism 2020, bringing influx of tourists to the country, would help our industry. But so can you imagine? 2019 was already a challenge. 2020 is unbelievable. And now, moving forward to 2021, second lockdown, restaurants close, outlets close. It's just I mean, it's like a sci-fi horror movie for our industry. It's insane.
So the way you make it seem, it was already declining in a way, but this just puts like the nail in the coffin, basically, for you guys in the industry.
Exactly. So most people were already in the ward. Then they went to ICU, and then now they're dead.
Very appropriate, since now we're dealing with the whole COVID thing. So you especially, like Navin, like you're known for your restaurants in like Titidia. Wayne's is very popular, and it's also popular among the nightlife crowd, especially Manja as well in KL. So how hard were you hit in especially these two restaurants that I might say they're like your top restaurants, right?
Key restaurants. They've been there for a long time. Strong, steady clientele. So Manja was interestingly. So Manja, the composition of Manja was tourists. The bulk of the clientele were tourists. Second bulk of the customers were corporate clientele. So corporate clientele. The third was corporate events. The fourth was regular events, and the fifth was walk-ins. So can you imagine? So that means this being the first. So what happened to your tourists? They can't come in the country. What happened to your corporate clientele? They're not in town. Most of them working from home. What happened to your corporate events? They're not allowed to have events. What happened to your what was this one? This one, your regular events? That was not there. So basically now we're left with walk-ins. So do you know what's happened in KL? The rentals in KL have gone down, and the rentals in suburban areas have gone up, because how many people actually live in KL permanently? Who, so a lot of the affluent people, they live, and the ones who would be able to dine in our restaurants, mid to high-end restaurants, would live in places like Taling Jaya. There's a big bulk. There is Bangsa, Damansara Heights, Sri Hatamas, Montiara, Taman Tun, Damansara Perdana, and these are the neighboring areas. And with COVID, less people want to go to KL. So to go to KL, there needs to be very, very strong motivation, because there's also so many restaurants around the neighborhoods. So we had to really restructure the way we think in terms of our clientele. We really had to do a lot of outreach programs, revisit our loyalty programs, have an online offering. Now we do a little bit of, then we also use Manja as a kitchen that can produce for other outlets, like for the food company. So we make, for example, fish cakes and crab cakes, and we supply the food company. So alternative income. Like today, I just had a meeting. We restructured our menu, looking at price points. looking at how we can reach a wider base of clientele, more middle class, middle to middle upper class clientele. So we really have to rethink of our offering without losing our brand identity. I think that is very important. And without, a lot of people go into panic mode and they start ditching prices. And when you ditch prices, they're ditching the quality. And I think that is something you have to be opposite. So you got to think of value. How can you create value for your customers? And that's what we did in Vince with our recent menu change. It was a lot about how to create value for our guests. And we decided to specialize. So we don't try to do a bit of everything. We go into a couple of areas that we're very strong in. So in Vince would be the handmade pizzas and the handmade pastas, where we roll each one, by hand and toss it fresh with a lot of fresh herbs and sauces. So this is creating a unique niche. And the suburban restaurants are not as affected because there's more people, like it's just next door, you just want to go out to a nearby restaurant. It's those city restaurants that is challenging, and you need to have sustenance. So we're able to relocate some of the staff from there to work in other outlets and sort of manage the overheads, renegotiate rentals, and sort of look at a new way of doing things, because we just got to bite the bullet, re-engineer the menu, re-engineer our offering, market that to our local customers, and have an offering that is diversified. So although you need to be specialized, your offering needs to be able to target locals. You see, a lot of the town restaurants target foreigners. So you got to rethink your menu without losing your brand identity. It's walking a very tightrope, because you don't have the data. There won't be data on this because your data will be based on your previous clientele. So you got to do new data. So a lot of data mining in terms of like talking to your customers, talking to your staff, finding out what do customers come in, what's the footfall of traffic outside, what kind of, and then like say for example, like I asked my manager this, how many customers come and see the menu outside Manjaro? Just simple stuff. So that he would tell me, okay, 5 tables did that. Out of 5 tables, how many walked in? He said 3. Okay. So what happened to the other 2? Why did they not walk in? So then they would say, I don't know. So then I said, why don't you engage, ask? So then we found out that they were looking for more carb-based items like rice and noodles and stuff, which our menu offering didn't really have for the nighttime. It was more for lunch. So then we started to rethink, okay, how can we introduce carb in a creative way for our new menu? So it's just being sensitive and intuitive to the needs and wants of the residents in that area now. It's no more of drawing an international crowd. Like we used to get people from Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, India, China, very big clientele. Actually, our biggest clientele is from New Zealand, China, big groups from there, Japan, Singaporeans, many. So now, of course, you don't have any of that. So now you got to rethink. And think about it. If you rethink to cater for your domestic market, when the gates open, these people are automatically going to come as well. So you're going to get back the volume business that you need. But I think it's about sustenance at this point in time.
So especially for a place like Manja, right, which is not just about food, I think it's the entire experience. Talking about the restaurant, the location, what you see
the history of the building.
That and all that. So places like that, especially now when you can't dine in, what's happening to, because no one's going to come there to pack food, right? I mean, it's going to be really tough.
Hardly.
So
what are we doing to sustain?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 2 things that generally people do. A lot of people close the restaurant and they basically cut their losses for that time. But I believe there's a lot of COVID has also given a unique opportunity of time that you normally don't have. You see, when a restaurant is running, it's like a wheel. When you want to slot something in, you have to slot it in so that the wheel doesn't stop. So what happens is now the wheel has stopped. So it gives you a chance to re-engineer anything that you wanted to. So do the maintenance work that you never had a chance to do. It gives you a chance to standardize recipes, make recipe cards or bulk recipe cards. So increase your consistency and quality of the food. It allows you to do R&D on any new dishes that you want. It allows you to evaluate your menu and maybe put a new menu back together. It allows you to retrain staff, so you don't have to shut down the entire operation. You can have a skeleton team that you rotate, so the staff there's some staff that get paid but paid less. We offer sort of like if they need food or any kind of subsistence like that, we allow. But the thing is, it gives us time to work on our systems and processes, to reevaluate our cocktails, to reevaluate our wine list. It gives us the breathing room to basically make a better restaurant. So that's how we're going to sustain. But however, if we had Manja just alone without any supplementary income coming in, that would be a challenge. What is really important is that we use Manja as a production kitchen to be able to produce for our food retail business. And that's why, hence, I've learned a lot about producing our own sauces, marinades, and producing, because we operate scratch kitchens, right? So when we open scratch kitchens, that all our purchases are raw materials that we produce to make something for our guests. That's our unique proposition that we have. So on the second food company that we're opening in Bukit Damansara, Manja will be a major production kitchen for these sauces, marinades, and things like this, which will allow customers to enjoy that kind of quality of food, but they can take it home and enjoy that gourmet experience.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of R&D and a lot of development, business development, I guess, at this point.
So for you, it's been a time for innovation, for you to find ways to use your resources differently than you were using before. Would that be the case?
Yeah. Absolutely. You wouldn't believe COVID is more busy for us. We're more busy as a management. Me and my management team are more busy in COVID than we are in normal operation. So I want to take the opposite approach. Why close? Why sit back and relax? Now's the time to press, because you have to prepare for what's next. Then when things are back to normal, you will be 3 times better than what you are now. That's sort of the approach I'm taking. And it's a very aggressive approach. I know it's a risk, because you're also exposing yourself to finance. There's a lot of finances that you have to put out, but it keeps your team busy, it keeps them motivated, it keeps them paid. And you must remember, there's something I'm sure you know, but for us, our staff and our team are our assets. It's not our chairs, tables, and kitchen. It's our team is that are assets. And if we do our best to keep them going and keep the salaries going as much as possible, they're going to remember that, and they're going to appreciate that. Hopefully, if they're listening, you better listen properly, but they're going to appreciate that, and they're going to think about it. In the good times, they know, hey, this company was there for them during this time. The owner or the boss or the management thought about them in a creative way. How can I employ my people and still get the best out of what I need for the business?